The 6th Corps was a corps of the Union Army during the American Civil War. Formation: the Corps was organized as the 6th Provisional Corps on May 18, 1862, by uniting Marge. Gen. William B. Franklin's division, which had just arrived on the Virginia Peninsula, with Marge. Gen. William F. Smith's division, which was taken away from the 4th Corps for this purpose. This provisional arrangement having been sanctioned by the U.S. War Department, the command received its permanent designation as the 6th Army Corps, Army of the Potomac. Franklin was appointed Corps Commander, and Henry W. Slocum succeeded to the command of Franklin's division. On June 20, 1862, the Corps numbered 24,911 present and absent, with 19,405 present for duty. Equipped: the Corps artillery numbered 40 guns. 1862. At the Battle of Gaines' Mill in the 7 Days Battles, Slocum's division was sent to the support of Marge. Gen. John Porter and became hotly engaged, losing 2,021 men out of less than 8,000 present. The Vermont Brigade of Smith's division took a prominent part in the fight at Savage's Station, the 5th Vermont losing 209 men in that action. The Corps fought at other points during the 7 Days Battles, but at in Malvern Hill it was held in reserve. At the Second Battle of Bull Run it was partially engaged, the 1st New Jersey Brigade of Slocum's division having a sharp fight on August 27 at Bull Run Bridge, in which it lost 339 in killed, wounded, and missing. Brig. Gen. George W. Taylor, the brigade commander, receiving a mortal wound. In the Maryland campaign, Slocum's division made a successful charge up the side of South Mountain at Crampton's Gap, driving the enemy from a strong position. Slocum's loss was 533. The Corps was under fire again at Antietam, but was only partially engaged. The 3rd Brigade of Smith's division took an active part, however. The 7th Maine and 20th New York sustained severe losses. Important changes in the Corps now took place. It received a valuable accession by the transfer of Marge. Gen. Darius N. Couch's division of the 4th Corps, which now became the 3rd Division of the 6th Corps, with Marge. Gen. John Newton in command. General Franklin was promoted to the command of the Left Grand Division, 6th and 1st Corps, and General Smith succeeded to the command of the Corps. General Slocum was promoted to the command of the 12th Corps, and Marge. Gen. William T. H. Brooks succeeded Slocum in command of the 1st Division, while Brig. Gen. Albion P. Howe succeeded to the command of Smith's division. 1863. At Fredericksburg, December 13, 1862, only a few regiments of the Corps were engaged, although all were under severe artillery fire. But the Corps was engaged on the same field, May 3, 1863, in an action that made it famous with a brilliant display of dash and daring. Up to this point, the entire Corps had never fought a major engagement as a whole, only pieces of it participating in the battles on the Peninsula and Antietam. The chance finally came when Marge. Gen. Joseph Hooker took the Army of the Potomac to Chancellorsville. He left the 6th Corps in front of Fredericksburg, which was still held by a strong force of the enemy. Marge. Gen. John Sedgwick, who had succeeded to the Corps command, ordered an assault on Mary's Heights, and that strong position that had defied the assaults of the previous battle was now carried by the 6th Corps at the point of the bayonet. The divisions of Newton and Howe were the ones engaged together with Colonel Hiram Burnham's Light Division. Brooks's division was engaged later in the day at Salem Church. The Corps lost in this battle 4,589. The missing ones were, for the most part, lost in the action at Salem Church. On the day before this battle, the Corps returns showed a strength of 23,730 present for duty, of whom less than 20,000 were present in action. The Light Division was broken up after the battle, its regiments being assigned to other divisions. In the Gettysburg Campaign, the divisions were commanded by Generals Horatio G. Wright, Howe, and Newton. After setting up camp in Manchester, Maryland on July 1, 1863, they marched upwards of 37 miles in about 17 hours to reach Gettysburg on the afternoon of July 2, 1863. The 1st Division deployed and saw action at Little Round Top and the Wheatfield. Despite being the largest corps in the Union Army at the time, the 6th Corps was mostly held in reserve to the east of Gettysburg. It was not kept together as a unit during the 2nd and 3rd days of the battle, its brigades scattered around to plug holes in the line. On July 2, Brig. Gen. Alexander Schuyler's brigade was sent into action as a support to the 12th Corps on the right flank. Several casualties also occurred in Brig. Gens. Henry L. Eustace's and Frank Wheaton's brigades of Newton's division on the left. Wheaton's brigade helped stabilize that flank late in the day. During the pursuit of Robert E. Lee's army after Gettysburg, the Vermont Brigade was engaged at Funkstown, Maryland, where this one brigade, drawn out in a skirmish line of over a mile in length, alone and unassisted, repelled a determined attack of a vastly superior force, which in mass columns charged this skirmish line repeatedly. The Vermonters sustained but slight loss, as they occupied a strong, natural position. Having returned to Virginia, the Corps participated in the Bristoe Campaign. On November 7, 1863, at Rappahannock Station, it launched a successful assault on the enemy's entrenchments. The 6th Maine and 5th Wisconsin distinguished themselves particularly in this action, leading the storming party and carrying the works with the bayonet only. It was a success that resulted not only in a victory, but in the capture of a large number of prisoners, small arms, artillery and battle flags from the division of Major General Jubal Early. In the Mine Run Campaign, the divisions were commanded by Generals Wright, Howe, and Henry D. Terry, but were not in action to any extent. The Corps went into winter quarters at Brandy Station, 1864. Upon the reorganization of the Army in March 1864, several changes were made. The 3rd Division was broken up, Schuyler's brigade being transferred to Horatio G. Wright's division, while the brigades of Henry L. Eustace and Wheaton were placed in the 2nd Division, the command of which was given to General George W. Getty, who had served as a division commander in the 9th Corps, and also in the 7th Corps at the Siege of Suffolk. The place of the 3rd Division was filled by the 3rd Division of the 3rd Corps. That corps having been discontinued, the command of this division was given to Marge. Gen. James B. Ricketts. The corps now contained 49 regiments of infantry, an artillery brigade composed of 8 batteries of light artillery, and a battalion of heavy artillery acting as infantry, numbering in all 24,163 present for duty, equipped. In the battles of the Wilderness and Spotsylvania of the Overland Campaign, the 6th Corps encountered the hardest contested fighting of its experience. At the Wilderness, the Vermont Brigade, Getty's division, lost 1,232 men out of the 2,800 effectives that crossed the Rapidan River on the previous day. At Spotsylvania, the Jersey Brigade of Wright's division was engaged in a deadly struggle, the percentage of killed in the 15th New Jersey being equaled in only one instance during the whole war. General Sedgwick was killed by a sniper's bullet at Spotsylvania on May 9, which caused great distress to the soldiers of the Corps, who loved and admired their Uncle John. General Wright succeeded to the command of the Corps, Brig. Gen. David A. Russell succeeding Wright in the command of the 1st Division. On May 10, Col. Emery Upton led a storming party of 12 picked regiments selected from the 6th Corps. They carried the Confederate works in the Muleshoe after a hand-to-hand fight in which bayonet wounds were freely given and received. On May 12, the entire Corps fought at the Bloody Angle, where the fighting was among the closest and deadliest of any recorded in the Civil War. The casualties of the Corps at the Wilderness were 5,035, and at Spotsylvania, 4,042. In the assault at Cold Harbor, June 1, 1864, the Corps sustained another severe loss, 2,715 of its number killed or wounded. Accompanying the army to Petersburg, it participated in the preliminary operations incidental to the investment of that stronghold, but its stay was of short duration. Lt. Gen. Jubal A. Early's invasion of Maryland necessitated a transfer of troops to confront him, and the 6th Corps selected for the duty in the Valley campaigns of 1864. On July 6, Ricketts's division embarked at City Point and, landing at Baltimore on July 8, marched out to meet Early. This division took part in the Battle of Monocacy on the following day, and, although unable to defeat Early, checked his advance on Washington, D.C., giving the defenses the time to organize. The other two divisions embarked on July 10 and, landing at Washington, attacked Early, whose advance had reached Fort Stevens, within the city limits. The brunt of this fight fell to the lot of Brig. Gen. Daniel D. Bidwell's brigade of Getty's division, every regimental commandant in this brigade, but one, being either killed or wounded. The Corps followed in pursuit of Early through Maryland, into Virginia, then continued up the Shenandoah Valley. March. Gen. Philip Sheridan was placed in command of the Army of the Shenandoah, which was composed of the VI, 8th and 19th Corps, and its campaign in the Valley was a memorable one by reason of the victories at 3rd Winchester, Fish's Hill, and Cedar Creek. In the latter battle occurred the famous incident of Sheridan's right from Winchester, followed by a defeat from which Early never recovered. Getty's division distinguished itself at Cedar Creek, holding off enemy attacks long after other units had retreated. General Russell was killed at 3rd Winchester, and General Bidwell at Cedar Creek. The casualties of the Corps at the Opequon aggregated 1,699. At Cedar Creek, it lost 2,126. Its total loss in the Shenandoah campaign, August 22 to October 20, was 4,899, out of 12,615 present for duty in August. General Wheaton succeeded to the command of Russell, while Brig. Gen. Truman Seymour was assigned to the command of the 3rd Division in place of General Ricketts, who was seriously wounded at Cedar Creek. 1865. In December 1864, the 6th Corps returned to the Army of the Potomac in the Petersburg trenches, built the winter quarters, and went into position near the Weldon Railroad. On the April 2, 1865, the Corps was assigned a prominent and important part in the final assault on the fortifications of Petersburg. Then came the hot pursuit of Lee's retreating veterans in the Appomattox campaign, during which the Corps fought at Silos Creek. This, the last battle for the 6th Corps, was marked by the same features that had so largely characterized all its battles: hard fighting, victory, and large captures of men, flags, guns, and material. A Confederate attack on the Corps as it crossed the creek was repulsed with support from the artillery, and the counterattack broke Lt. Gen. Richard S. Ewell's line. Ewell and George Washington Custis Lee, oldest son of Robert E. Lee, were among the prisoners taken by federal forces. Major General George Washington Custis Lee was forcibly captured on the battlefield by Private David Dunnels White of the 37th Massachusetts Regiment. The 6th Corps was disbanded on June 28, 1865. Command History * Corps assigned to the Army of the Shenandoah. Other entries to the Army of the Potomac.